If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support truly keeps us moving forward. In today's video, I want to share something I've never spoken about before, a story that changed me in ways I'm still trying to understand. Some parts are painful to revisit, but maybe that's exactly why they should be told. If you're watching this right now, thank you. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because stories like this remind us not just who others are, but who we truly are inside. It began on a day that felt too quiet to be real. A heavy summer afternoon where the air tasted of salt and the crash of waves muted every other sound. I told myself it was just another day, that I needed a break, some calm. But deep down, I knew something inside me was beginning to unravel. Leonard and I had come to the beach to escape the tension at home. The silence that had filled our house for months was somehow louder than any fight we'd ever had. He wasn't a stranger. Not completely. But the distance between us had grown so wide, it felt almost impossible to cross. When he offered to help set up the umbrella, I noticed his hands trembling. It wasn't the wind or fatigue. It was something heavier. Something that felt like guilt. We didn't speak for a long time. The sea stretched endlessly before us, yet all I could feel was the weight of everything left unsaid. There are silences that comfort you, and there are silences that suffocate you. This one was the latter. Leonard kept his eyes fixed on the horizon. Every time the light shifted, I caught a flicker of something in them. Something that looked a lot like regret. Deeper. That's what it felt like. Not just his regret, but mine too. I think I recognized it because I was carrying my own. We had both made choices, small ones that had seemed harmless at the time, yet they led us right here. Choices to stay silent when we should have spoken. To hide our pain instead of facing it. I wanted to reach out, to tell him it was okay to speak, that I was ready to listen. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. The words got trapped somewhere between fear and pride. After that day, everything began to change. I wish I could tell you it happened suddenly, that there was one clear moment when everything shifted. But it wasn't like that. It was slow, creeping, almost invisible. It showed in the way Leonard stopped meeting my eyes when he came home, and in how I pretended not to notice. It was in the long, sleepless nights when I replayed every conversation, every glance, every unfinished sentence. Guilt has a way of taking root in your mind. You think you've buried it, but it keeps resurfacing, stronger each time. Phoenix, my husband, had already started to drift away long before that summer. He was always busy, always tired, always almost home. And when he was there, it felt like he wasn't really there at all. And somehow, that absence made everything hurt more. I began to notice how Leonard mirrored that same distance, how he'd learned his father's silence. And I hated that I'd allowed it to happen. So I tried to fix things the only way I knew, by pretending. I cooked dinner. I smiled when I didn't feel like it. I laughed at jokes that weren't funny. But each small act of pretending only pushed the truth further out of reach. A week later, we returned to the beach. I told myself going back to the beach would bring peace of mind, that maybe if we returned to the place where everything had cracked, we could somehow mend it. But healing doesn't come from pretending nothing ever broke. It comes from facing why it did. The sun was harsh that day, almost painfully bright. We sat together in silence again, but this time the air felt heavier, as if it carried all the words we'd left unsaid. I wanted to tell him I was sorry for being distant, for letting the silence win, but I didn't know how to begin. Then Leonard spoke first. Do you ever think things can go back to how they were? His voice was low, almost steady, but there was a tremor underneath it. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was, I didn't believe they could. Sometimes life doesn't fall apart in one loud, dramatic moment. Sometimes it just erodes piece by piece, until one day you wake up and realize there's nothing left of what used to be. That afternoon, I saw the cracks. In him. In me, in the fragile bond we'd been pretending still held us together. He told me he felt invisible, that no matter how hard he tried, no one truly saw him. Hearing that broke something inside me, because I knew that feeling far too well. We stood by the water. Two people bound by guilt, grief, and 1,000 unspoken apologies. You're not invisible, I told him. But even as the words left my mouth, I wasn't sure if I believed them myself. The drive home was painfully quiet. The hum of the tires and the faint murmur of the radio filled the space where conversation should have been. My thoughts were louder than both. I kept thinking about how easy it is to lose someone, even when they're sitting right beside you, and how the hardest part isn't letting go, but admitting you already have. When we pulled into the driveway, neither of us moved. Then Leonard whispered, "Mom, are we okay?" And that's when I realized this story was never about blame. It was about forgiveness. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat alone in the kitchen long past midnight, listening to the house breathe. Every shadow felt alive, like it was carrying the echoes of everything we hadn't said.